Hi friends, let us discuss SRS 4400. SRS stand for Standards on Related Service. What is the standards on related service? In this context, chartered accountant are utilized for specific, custom-made, tailored service, and the assurance such as expressing an opinion to the general public is not much important. Here, auditor is required to target and focus on the area of the work assigned to him. For an example, before moving into the standard, it is required. We might be seeing the KFC, which is operating throughout the India and abroad also. In shopping mall and many places, the restaurant is working. This is working on a model called the franchisee model. So we will have a discussion on franchisee. A person who is obtaining the franchisee is required to comply with certain requirement, the quality standards and operational standards. Otherwise, franchisee will not be obtained. So the client and franchisee, the person who availing the franchisee, will agreed upon certain procedure. The franchisee person has to maintain stock in a particular way. The franchisee person has to maintain such controls, and the franchisee person has to comply with certain other terms which are agreed upon between the client and the franchisee person, and the auditor is sent for here to audit the franchisee person whether the person has complied with the agreed upon procedure, and this is the background of this standard. So let us move quickly into each aspects. Objective of the standard. So in this context there may be three persons. One is the auditor, one is the client, and three is the third party. We discussed in the franchisee model. So what are the objective of this standard? For an auditor to carry out the procedure of the audit nature, auditor has to carry out the audit procedure. The auditor, entity and appropriate third party have been agreed upon. We already discussed the preamble area where the franchisor and the client will be agreed upon certain conditions to obtain the franchisee and report on the factual findings. What are the reality, whether the franchisee person has complied with the agreed upon procedure. That is called the factual finding. Who can use? It's a restricted report. It's not a public report. Expressing opinion not for the general public. It's for a specific service. A report is generally restricted to those parties that have agreed to the procedure to be performed. Here, who is agreed the procedure to be performed? The contract is between the client and the person who obtaining the franchisee and the auditor. Auditor's duty is to give the report on his finding. Principle of agreed upon procedure. The auditor should comply with the code of ethics. See, in this context, auditor is auditing not the client books of accounts. Rather, he auditing the third party. The third party and client have entered into certain terms and conditions. Normally, audit is conducting for the client. Here, audit is conducted not for the client, on behalf of the client, not directly to the client. So, certain conditions which are mandatory and optional conditions. What are the conditions? Mandatory. Ethical conditions mandatory and optional condition. Mandatory conditions: ethical standards, integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care, confidentiality, professional conduct and technical standard. All these are mandatory. But independent is an optional condition. Here audit is related to the third party, not direct to the client. So the independent become least important. If the audit is connected with the client, is least important. If the auditor is connected with the third party, also least important. So it is an optional standard. The independency is the Optional standards. Defining the terms. It's a specific contract, so specific agreement has to be made. It's a specific agreement. So let us see that. What is the nature of engagement? It is a franchisee. What are the purpose? To find out all the standards which is stipulated by the clients has agreed upon procedure has complied with. Identification of financial information, nature, timing and extent of specific procedure for identify and check the information of the franchisee person, limitations on distribution of the reports on the factual finding, what are the reality, what it is find, and those report is circulated among the three people, the client and the third party. So there is a restrictions on use of the report. It's not a general public report. Planning by the auditor for performing effective engagement. All the audit engagement require planning to understand the client, understand the third party. Documentation of the important significant matters during the factual finding. Rest are in the nature of audit. Scope is limited to the specific service. Procedure and evidence. Auditor should carry out the necessary procedure to use the evidence obtained thereon for expressing an opinion whether the franchisee person has complied with all the agreed upon procedure. To form that conclusion, auditor require an information. That is called the audit evidence. Reporting. Then the report, audit report. How the reporting it will be. The title is not an independent audit report. It's a specific report addressing to the client, directly to the client or third party as the case may be. Identification of specific financial, non-financial informations to which agreed upon procedure have been completed. We see in the example of franchisee. Franchisee has to comply with the quality standard and certain financial related matters such as stock and further maintaining the other conditions. A statement that engagement was performed in accordance with standard and terms of engagement. It's a specific what are the content in the engagement. That manner the audit has performed. Mention that the audit has been performed in accordance with agreed upon procedure between client and chartered accountant. Identification of the purpose, listing of specific procedure to be performed which is specific to the engagement is concerned, a description of auditor's factual finding, what are the reality, including the sufficient details of errors and exceptions which was found, any non-compliance with the agreed upon procedure, a statement that the procedure to be followed do not constitute either an audit review and as such no assurance is expressed. Here also not absolute assurance is guaranteed by the auditor to the client. Conducting the audit does not ensure the effectiveness and efficiency in which the franchisee operations are going. A statement when applicable that the report relate to only to the elements specified, that it does not extend to the entity's financial statements taken as a whole. A specific purpose engagement. Then as usual the date of report, place of report, auditor's signature likewise are the remain constant except certain difference. The following are the audit report. You maybe go through the audit report in the files attached to you. Those who require the notes, please comments on the dialog box of YouTube so that I can send it to you across. Thank you for watching the video without boring you much and have a nice day ahead.